श्रीमद्भागवतं नाम पुराणं लोकविश्रुतं शृणुयात् श्रद्धया युक्तः मम सन्तोषकारणम् यस्वानुभावम् अखिलश्रुतिसारमेकम् अध्यात्मदीपम् अतितितीर्षतां तमोऽन्तम् संसारिणां करुणयाः पुराणगुह्यं तं व्याससूनुम् उपयामि गुरुं मुनीनाम्. We have been relishing Dhruva Charitra from the fourth skanda of Srimad Bhagavatam. Continuing the theme of Vamshanucharitam, giving us a very detailed account, a historic record of the various dynasties of kings who ruled this planet. In the fourth skanda, after Dhruva Charita, Maitreya continues his exposition on detailing, giving an account on the descendants of Dhruva. We must always be clear in Bhagavatam on the conversation happening between who. This conversation between Vidura and Maitreya started way back in the third skanda, is continuing. And it is this conversation that is being referred to in the conversation between Shuka and Parikshit. So Maitreya is continuing to give details on the descendants of Dhruva. Utkala was the eldest son of Dhruva, who right from the beginning was completely detached from the world. He was a jnani and was not keen to rule the kingdom. Therefore, the next son of Dhruva, Vatsara, was given the throne. So Vatsara continued Dhruva's lineage and continued to rule the kingdom. In the lineage of Vatsara was the king Pushparna, in whose lineage comes Chakshusha, who also happens to be the Manu of the Chakshusha Manvantara. So this lineage is now cutting across Manvantaras now. Now in the lineage of Chakshusha Manu comes Ulmukha, and his son is Anga, whose son is Vena, and Vena's son is Prithu, the illustrious Prithu. So in the process of recounting the lineage, the descendants of Dhruva, now the focus is brought to Prithu Charitra. After Dhruva Charitra, now Maitreya describes Prithu Charitra to Vidura. If Prithu Charitra has to be summarized in one line, it is God's demonstration of God-conscious leadership. A very inspiring leadership lesson that we learn from Prithu. In fact, if we have to name one king as the true king who embodies the very essence of rulership, of leadership, we have to go back to Prithu. Statecraft, as we know today, when we have to compare it with what Prithu taught by example, we will get to see how relevant Prithu as a king is even today. So Prithu Charitra teaches us in the process of glorifying Prithu, we also get to know the characteristics of an ideal king. the characteristics of an ideal leader. Anga's son Vena, unfortunately, was the very personification of everything evil. Vena was evil personified. Right from his childhood, Vena indulged in killing his friends, fellow children, mercilessly. He was so evil that in his dictionary there was no word called mercy. He indulged in killing humans and animals, and he took pleasure. He took pleasure in inflicting pain upon others. And unfortunately, when Vena took over the kingdom, he was like a mad elephant, an untrammeled mad elephant who went crushing everybody, and adharma was on the rise. He stopped performing all yajnas. Mother Earth was suffering. All the rishis of the time then decided to advise King Vena, but they failed. And therefore, they decided to curse Vena to death. They had to bring a stop to this tyranny. Vena was cursed to death by the sages. And then, in order to continue the lineage, the sages began to churn Vena's body. And at the same time, they prayed to Bhagavan Vishnu, as they churned the body of Vena. Out of Vena's body emerged Prithu and Archi. As a manifestation, as an amsha of Mahavishnu, Prithu manifested. And as an amsha of Shri, Archi manifested. Yesha sakshat dharer amshaha jato loka rirakshaya iyam cha tatparahi shrihi anujajnena anapayini. Prithu is an amsha avatara of Narayana. An amsha of Bhagavan manifested as Prithu, and Prithu arose, just like how fire comes out of the Arani wood. Prithu manifested. And therefore Prithu remained like fire, effulgent, brilliant, pure, righteous, the very embodiment of Dharma. And together with Archi, Amshavatara of Sri Mahalakshmi, Prithu began to rule the kingdom. And when Prithu took over, all the inhabitants of the kingdom were all overjoyed. Now they realized this is going to be a new beginning for them. And they started to praise Prithu. One whole adhyaya is devoted to the praise of Prithu. But what is important here for us is not just praises of Prithu, but in the process of praising Prithu, knowing Prithu's qualities, the nobility of Prithu, we also get to know the characteristics of a true leader, the characteristics of a king. Yesha dharma bhritam sreshtaha. All the subjects gathered and they started praising Prithu. Now, every character of Prithu that they are celebrating also tells us the quality of a king. Yesha dharma bhritam sreshtaha lokam dharme anuvartayan gopta cha dharma setunam shasta tat paripantinam. Shasta tat paripantinam, chastiser of paripantinam. The paripantinam here are the Nastikas. Prithu ensured that there are no Nastikas on the planet. Now, Astikya is a fundamental prerequisite for a king, for a leader. Now, that is why the Prithu's Charitra can be summarized as a demonstration of God-conscious leadership. What is Astikya? Astikya is knowing the true nature of reality, knowing the validity of Shastras. Nastikya, on the other hand, is in a state of delusion, perverse understanding of reality. When somebody says there is no God, one has not really understood the fundamental nature of reality. So here, by praising Prithu, Shasta tat paripantinam, the one who overpowered and eradicated all the Nastikas, also tells us that for a king, prerequisite is astikya. Yesha dharma vritam sreshtaha. Dharma vritam sreshtaha. He is the sreshta, the supreme, the foremost among all those who abide by dharma, leading by example. A king has to necessarily lead by example. It is not about asking his subjects to abide by dharma. It is important that the king has to. And what is that? Lokam dharme anuvartayan. The king also has to ensure, to ensure that everyone in the kingdom followed dharma. Our Shastras give us two kinds of dharma at a broad level. Dharma in society, individual well-being and individual growth are both important. At the same time, social well-being and social growth are also important. So therefore, our Shastras give Varna Dharma and Ashrama Dharma. Varna Dharma for individual, Varna Dharma for social well-being and social growth. And for individual well-being and individual growth, our Shastras give Ashrama Dharma. It is very important to understand that for the smooth operation of any society, for harmony in society, everybody has to abide by the roles that are ordained. A Brahmana cannot do the role of a Kshatriya. A Kshatriya cannot do the role of a Shudra. A Shudra cannot do the role of a Vaishya. A Brahmachari has to follow Brahmacharya and not think of conducting himself as a Grihastha, and a Grihastha cannot think of a sannyasi, being a sannyasi. A Grihastha, if he starts thinking sannyasa is better, he will only realize until he becomes a sannyasi, he will not really understand what sannyasa is all about. So therefore, it is like for a body to function harmoniously, every part of the body has a role to perform. No part is superior or inferior. Every part of the body has a role, an ordained role. And as long as that body part sticks to the script given to it, the body functions harmoniously. The lung cannot try to function like a heart. The eye cannot try to function like a nose. At the same time, the eye is not superior, the nose is not inferior. The lung is not inferior, the heart is not superior. Every body part has an ordained role. Similarly, every individual in society has an ordained role. And this is what this dharma is all about. And Prithu ensured that dharma was strictly followed by everyone. And how did he ensure? Leading by example. That is why Yesha dharma britham sreshtaha lokam dharme anuvartayan gopta cha dharma setunam shasta tat paripantinam. Because he knew dharma, he also knew that his dharma as a king is only to serve Bhagavan. And astikya automatically becomes a prerequisite. And that is the reason the prerequisite for any king is astikya. Yesha vai lokapalanam vibhatti ekastanau tanuhu kale kale yatha bhagam lokayor ubayor hitam. As a king, Prithu understood. He invoked all the lokapalakas. Our Shastras very clearly say there is no action that we can do on our own. Every action that we perform is in collaboration with all various devatas. That is why Krishna says, Sahayajna praja srishtva purovacha prajapatihi anena prashavishyadvam yeshavodbishta kamadak devan bhavayatanena te deva bhavayatvaha parasparam bhavayantaha shreyaha paramavapsyata. Parasparam bhavayantaha. Every action is a collaboration. Every action that we perform is not an individual action, it is a collaboration. Collaborating with various individual cosmic forces. Every cosmic force is a devata. Here, as an ideal king, Prithu, it seems, invoked all the Lokapalakas and ensured that their contributory work is done. Thereby, it is always collaboration that is happening between all the devatas and all the human beings. That is when society can flourish. That is when there can be abundance on the planet. If here, Yeshavai Lokapalanam Vibhakti Ekas Tanautanuhu. So, Prithu, therefore we learn that a king is a representative of all the Lokapalakas, not only of Bhagavan, and it is his duty to ensure that there is collaboration. How is this collaboration that can happen? Performance of yajnas. By performing yajnas regularly, all the devatas are nourished. And when the devatas are nourished, in turn, they nourish the human beings. Parasparam bhavayantaha shreyaha paramavapsyata. Vasukala upadhatte kale chayam vimunchati. Samassarveshu bhuteshu pratapan suryavat vibhuhu. Pratapan suryavat vibhuhu. Very interesting characteristic of Prithu, an interesting characteristic of a king. Samaha sarveshu bhuteshu pratapan suryavat vibhuhu. It seems like sun, Prithu treated every citizen in his kingdom the same. Why is the sun being taken as an example? For sun, the sunshine, there is no differentiation. To everyone, sunshine is equally available. There is no discrimination whatsoever. Sunlight is available to one and all. Similarly, a king has to treat every subject equally, just like how sun gives sunlight to one and all without any discrimination. What is important to note here is, for the king, it is not about pleasing the majority or appeasing the minority. You always see, the two pathways here: either appease minority or please the majority. But an ideal king goes beyond both. An ideal king takes care of the interest of each and every individual in the kingdom. Every single citizen matters. The interest of every single citizen is taken care. The king is connected with each and every citizen. That is why he is Raja, who has such a generous heart that in his heart there is room for every single citizen. Therefore, samas sarveshu bhuteshu pratapan suryavad vibhuhu. Also, sun does one more thing. During 8 months of the year, it evaporates all the water. And then during the rainy season, the water is profusely given back for nourishing people on the planet. Vasukala upadhatte kale chayam vimunchati. Similarly, Prithu, the king, collects taxes from the people at the right time and puts the collected money, the treasure, to use for the sake of the people at the right time. The king's duty is not just to exact taxes, but also to ensure that the collected money is put to use at the appropriate time solely for the benefit of the citizens. So, Vasukale upadatte kale chayam vimunchati samassarveshu bhuteshu pratapan suryavat vibhuhu. Titikshati akramam vainya upari akramatamapi. Vainya means son of Vena. Prithu Vainya. Titikshati Akramam Vainya. Hey Prithu, you are the very embodiment of Titiksha, tolerance. Now, again, a very important characteristic of a king. So we all think a king means one who rules. But here it is said that Prithu was an example to show a king is not one who rules, he is the one who is ruled by his own subjects. A king exists for the sake of his people. Today, people talk about servant leadership. Prithu possibly was the first one to demonstrate what is servant leadership. Titikshati akramam vainya upari akramatamapi. It seems even if a citizen tramples over one's head, the king has to tolerate and accept it. Even if one tramples over one's head, which means if one violates rules and regulations, a king should not straightaway punish. He must be tolerant enough, because punishing, after all, is very easy. Reforming and transforming is very difficult. The easy route to take for a king is to just punish a wrongdoer. But an ideal king like Prithu does not just punish. He gives enough opportunity to everyone and reforms them, transforms them. And how he does this? By example, leading by example. Titikshati akramam vainya upari akramatamapi bhutanam karunashashvat. Karuna is a king has to be embodiment of compassion. Arthanam kshiti-vrittiman. As a protector, the king Prithu was like tolerant as earth, and therefore an ideal king has to be tolerant as an earth. Very important lesson here Prithu teaches. Leadership or rulership is not an entitlement, it's an endowment. There is a huge difference between entitlement and endowment. Endowment is a gift. The king, a leader, has to realize that the leadership that is bestowed is a gift given. It is gift given by Bhagavan. That is why Astikya is a fundamental prerequisite. Only then a king can remain humble. To know that it is a gift, it is an endowment, and the king has a duty to perform on behalf of the real Ishvara, the real ruler, the ruler of all rulers. And the moment a king starts to think the rulership is an entitlement, that is when all the problems start. Prithu demonstrated how a true king should conduct himself. Conduct himself, realizing that this kingdom has been given as a gift to be protected, to be served. And that is when service attitude comes to a leader, to a king. And Prithu, therefore, is a great example of a servant leader who recognized that he can only lead by serving. And this is why all the subjects are praising. Antarbahischa bhutanam pashyan karmani charanaihi udasina ivadhyakshaha vayuratmeva dehinam. A king has to necessarily look. Hey, Prithu, as an ideal king, you know every activity, internal and external, done by each and every one of your citizens, it is said. So when we start looking at the ideal characteristics of a king, and later in Ramayana, when we start looking at how Rama conducted himself, lots of things get revealed to us. We begin to understand what is Raja Dharma. We begin to understand what an ideal king stands for. Antarbahischa bhutanam pashyan karmani charachaihi. A king has to necessarily know the activities that are going on within the kingdom. It seems Prithu knew activities done outside and even inside the house of each and every citizen. But at the same time, udasina ivadhyakshaha. Knowing them, he has to remain as a witness, not getting carried away, not getting influenced. It is just for the sake of information that he needs to know. He needs to understand the pulse of each and every citizen. And accordingly, he needs to shape his dharma. He needs to shape all the activities that is going to perform. How? Vayur Atmeva Dehina. A king has to be like the very prana for every citizen. The prana is so very important. Without the prana, there is no functioning, but at the same time, the prana remains a witness all the time. The prana does not interfere in the functioning of other parts of the body, but at the same time, as it remains a witness, it is also fundamental. It is necessary for the operation of the whole body. Similarly, the king has to be like the prana to each and every citizen. Remaining a witness, he also has to ensure that the king is the very basis, the very foundation for the functioning of every family, the functioning of every individual within the kingdom. Matra bhakti parastrishu patnyam adha ivatmanaha rajashu pritvat snigdaha kinkaraha brahmavadina. Every woman the king has to treat as his own mother. Patnyam adha ivatmanaha. The queen has to be treated as his very half. Prajashu pitravat snigdaha. He has to be like a father to every citizen, treating everyone equally. Kinkaraha brahmavadina. The king has to be like a servant to all the great Bhagavatas, to all the great jnanis. The king has to just fall at their feet. He is not a ruler. That is why the king can take decisions only with the advice of the jnanis. That is why the king is always surrounded by great rishis, great jnanis, who advise him on what to do and what not to do. Kinkara, he has to be a kinkara, an ordinary servant. And Prithu was such a glorious king, an illustrious king. He stood for what a king is meant to be. He's the very embodiment of leadership, God-conscious leadership. And therefore, everybody was rejoicing. But unfortunately, because of Vena's rule, there was famine everywhere when Prithu took over. When he was enthroned, there was scarcity of food on the planet. People were suffering, hunger, and there were no grains, no seeds, no herbs. It seems Mother Earth was not cooperating. Prithu was wondering, what's happening? What did I do wrong? He did yajnas, but Mother Earth was not cooperating. And Prithu was very angry. He decided that the only way is to extract what was needed from Mother Earth. And it is said that Mother Earth took the form of a cow and Prithu started chasing. And eventually, after a long chase, Mother Earth surrendered to Prithu. Because Prithu was not clear what was going on. And then Mother Earth explains the situation. In 2 shlokas, Mother Earth talks about the reason for the scarcity. Pura srishtahi oshadayaha brahmanaya vishampate bujyamana maya drishta asadvir adhritavrataha. When we now look at scarcity, famine, and shortage of resources, we will also know what is the root cause for this. The root cause is being explained by Bhudevi to Prithu. Pura srishtahi oshadayaha brahmanaya vishampate. Hey Prithu, you must know that all the seeds, all the grains, all the herbs, all the vegetation, all the food, resources of food that are created on this planet are only for one purpose. We all think, yes, we all know that. Only for one purpose, for us to eat. But we also need to understand eating is also a yajna. The one purpose is yajna. And that is why eating is also a form of yajna. Nothing can be done on this planet which is not an yajna. Anything which is not done as a yajna is binding in nature. Yajnartho karmanonyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha. Anything which is not done as a yajna. So therefore, Mother Earth is explaining to Prithu, Prithu, of all the people you know, all these resources are created only for one purpose, as a yajna, to be offered to Bhagavan. But unfortunately, over a long period of time, people started to misuse all the resources provided to them. Bhujyamana maya drishta asadbir adritavrataihi. Asadbihi adritavrataihi. Two words, very powerful words Mother Earth uses. Adritavrataihi. Those who are misaligned to the Shastras. Asadbihi. This is the Asadbihi. Krishna explains those. While explaining those who surrender to him, Krishna also explains why some people cannot surrender to him. He talks of 4 kinds of people who can easily surrender to him. Chaturbija Vajantevam Jana Sukritino Arjuna Atto Jigyasuratharthi Jnani Cha Bharatarshava. There are these 4 classes of people to whom surrendering to Krishna somehow is easy. But there are other 4 classes of people for whom surrendering doesn't come naturally. Dushkritinaha, Moodaha, Naradhamaha, Mayaya, Apahritajnanaha. Krishna says, Namam Dushkritino Moodaha, Prapadyante Naradhamaha, Mayaya, Apahritajnanaha, Asuram, Bhavamashhritaha. He says, Arjuna, let me tell you why it doesn't come naturally to many. Now, this many could be a majority. Those who don't naturally surrender to him. Again, he said there are 4 classes of people. Dushkritinaha, Moodaha, Naradamaha, Mayaya, Apahritajnanaha. All these 4 are combined together, and Prithvi tells Prithu, Asadbihi, Dushkritinaha, those who are evil. Who are those who are evil? When they have foundational wrong mentality, when there is refusal to use God's God-given gifts in his service. As simple as that. When someone does not deploy God's given gift in his service, the outcome is an evil deed. So anything can be termed evil, wicked. Any action is evil when that action involves not using God's given gift in his service. Which means, what is not God's given gift? Everything is his gift. Every resource belongs to his. Everything is given by him. When the resources that are given by him, including this very body, is not put to use in his service, then such a deed becomes evil. Now we need to look at all the deeds that we do. How many of them are not evil? Dushkritinaha. So those who are dushkritinaha, which means those who do not realize every resource that is given is to be used only for his service. Now Mother Earth is saying all this vegetation that was provided was supposed to be used in yajna as an offering to Bhagavan. And only the remnants of the yajna were supposed to be consumed. Over a period of time, forget about remnant, nothing is being offered to him. Everything is being only eaten, only consumed. Eating has become a pleasure activity and not an yajna anymore. And that is one of the reasons why there is scarcity on this planet. Dushkritinaha, Moodaha, ignorant. Who are Moodha? Those who violate human rights. So we all will ask, everybody, we all are fighting for our human rights today. But what is the real human right? Real human right, the right of a human being, is to contemplate and realize the purpose of being a human being. That is the fundamental right. When one does not fight for that human right, fighting for every other human right is meaningless. Who is a Moodha? A Moodha is ignorant. one who is ignorant of the human right, the right of contemplating, the very fact, the fact that one is bestowed with a human body, then naturally one needs to contemplate on the very purpose and realize the purpose of leading a human life. Mudaha, those ignorant, because of this loss of ignorance, this is another cause for the scarcity and famine. Naradhamaha, those who are animalistic in nature. Eating, sleeping, reproducing, defending. This is what animals do. Eating, sleeping, reproducing, defending. This is what most of the humans do as well. So what is the difference between a human being and an animal? Naradhamaha. If one remains at that level, then there is no way that one can surrender to Bhagavan. And because of that animalistic way of living, Prithvi starts saying to Prithu, incidentally, Mother Earth got her name as Prithvi because of Prithu. So Prithvi is having the conversation with Prithu here. So Prithvi is telling Prithu, because of the rise of Naradhama, the humans not only started consuming all the vegetation on planet, they also started consuming other living entities also, and started feeding them what is supposed to be used only for yajna. And this rise of animalistic way of living is also the reason for lack of, for the scarcity and lack of availability of enough food grains, herbs, and plantation on planet. Mayaya apahata jnanaha. Those who are deluded, those who think the I is at the center, which means I rule this planet. Everything should revolve around me. Everything belongs to me, and everything is to cater to my greed. And it is because of those kind of people that there is scarcity on this earth. Therefore, Prithvi is telling Prithu, now do you realize the reason? It is not me. It is not lack of cooperation from me. It is because of what has been happening to me, how I have been ill-treated. And she says, Apalitana dritacha bhavadbihi lokapalakehi. All the kings, your own father, Vena, misruled, misappropriated the resources and stopped performing yajnas. And he was a bad example. And that is the reason for adharma to rise. And that is the reason for scarcity all over. Chori bhute ate lokeham yajnarte akkasam oshadhihi. That is the reason why I started to hide all my resources, make resources not available to humans. Now Prithu realized. Prithu Maharaj therefore then requests Mother, and because Mother Earth has taken the form of a cow, he requests Swayambhuva Manu to take the form of a calf, and symbolically he milks the cow, which is he regenerates abundance on the planet. Prithu Maharaj was the first king who introduced structured agriculture on this planet. Until then, there was no structured agriculture. Structured agriculture, the land to be used for agriculture was separated out from land to be used for building cities. He was the first king who built cities, villages, organized farming. He was the one who was the first king who introduced all these practices for ensuring abundance and harmony on this planet. And having done that, he also started to encourage performance of yajnas. Prithu Maharaj then decided to perform 100 yajnas, 100 Ashwamedha yajnas. The moment anybody takes a sankalpa of performing 100 Ashwamedha yajnas, somebody starts shivering. We all know that. Indra in Swarga is now concerned. But Indra knows there is a long way to go for performing 100 Ashwamedha yajnas. Because he is waiting for Prithu to falter. Prithu begins to perform Ashwamedha yajnas one after the other, one after the other, one after the other. So very successful. He completes 99 Ashwamedha yajnas. And he begins his 100th. Now Indra cannot wait anymore. Indra then comes to disturb the Ashwamedha, 100th Ashwamedha Yajna. He steals Prithu's horse. And taking the form of a sannyasi, he flees. And then Prithu's son chases Indra and he is about to kill Indra. Then Brahma intervenes. Brahma intervenes and says and asks Indra to return the horse. Indra then agrees. And then once again Prithu starts another attempt of the 100th Yajna. Once again Indra comes and steals. And once again Brahma intervenes. And this keeps repeatedly happening. Then Brahma finally decides this Indra in this Manvantara is not going to change. So I cannot change Indra, but at least I can change Prithu. So then Brahma pleads to Prithu, Prithu, you must now stop. Because it looks like Indra is not going to stop. Indra is not going to stop stealing and preventing you from doing your 100. I plead, I request you to stop. You have done 99 Ashwamedha Yajnas. I think that should be enough. The wise Prithu immediately agrees to Brahma's request. Now, knowingly or unknowingly, Prithu has performed his 100th Ashwamedha Yajna. By setting aside his ego, submitting to Brahma's request, that great king, by stopping the performance of Ashwamedha Yajna, itself is a Mahayajna that is performed. Vishnu is pleased and immediately comes all the way to present himself before Prithu. While Prithu technically has not finished 100 Ashwamedha Yajnas, Bhagavan says, hey Prithu, you have actually completed more than 100 Ashwamedha Yajnas. There is no one equal to you. No one in the past or in the future can actually repeat your feat. And that is the reason why I am here right in front of you. And Prithu is really very, very joyful having the darshana of Bhagavan himself. And then immediately Prithu starts to glorify Bhagavan, and this segment of Prithu Charitra is called Prithustuti. We keep seeing Bhagavatam is popular for various stutis. This stuti is so very simple with one simple message. Prithu is only asking for one thing here in this whole of this stuti. He says, hey, Bhagavan, there is only one thing. To me, Purushartha is only one thing. Anybody can define Purushartha in any way they want. But to me, Prithu, the greatest king, is saying Purushartha is just continuously listening to your glories and nothing else. This is the summum bonum of my existence, he says. Varan vibhotvat varadeshwarat buddha khatam vrinite gunavikriyatmana ye narakanam api shanti dehinam tanisha kaivalyapate vrinenacha. He looks at Bhagavan and he beautifully addresses him as Varadeshwara. Hey Varada, hey Varadeshwara. Srinidhim nidhim aparamartinam architatta paridana dikshitam sarvabhuta suhrutam dayanidhim devaraja madhiraja mashraye. The great illustrious Kuresha looks at Varadaraja of Kanchi and says, Srinidhim nidhim aparamartinam architatta paridana dikshitam sarvabhuta suhrutam dayanidhim devaraja madhiraja mashraye. He says, I surrender to you. You have the treasury of what is called Daya. Unparalleled Daya, because of which you keep giving profusely. You keep giving even when people don't ask. Therefore here, Prithu is looking at Bhagavan and says, Varan vibhotvat varadeshwarat. You are Varadeshwara. You are the of all those who give, you are the supreme, the foremost. And he says, you keep giving everything, whatever is wanted. You bestow benedictions profusely. But let me tell you one thing. Katham vrinite gunavikriyatmanam e narakanam api shanti dehina. But when I know that you are here to continuously keep giving benedictions, what is the reason for me to ask? Is there any should I keep asking you anything? Should I ask you at all? What is the point in asking you any boon? Because Bhagavan comes in front of Prithu and says, ask me any boon, I will give you. Prithu says, what is the point in asking a boon? a boon with which I will experience some pleasures. But that anybody can, here in this world or even in Naraka. Even the experiences of Naraka are pleasures only. If any pleasure, which is any experience with the body, is transient, and therefore experiences of Naraka or experiences of Swarga are one and the same. No difference to me. Some may say, how come experience of Swarga and experience of Naraka can be same? They have to be different. But in the end, both lead to sorrow. Both lead to misery. So to me, they are one and the same. So why should I ask for any boon? You are there to give everything and anything. If at all I should ask only one thing, I should only ask the boon of continuously listening to your glories and your glories alone. And he says, Na kamaye natha tadapyaham vachin nayatra yushmat charanambuja savaha mahattamantar hridayan mukhachuto vidhatsva karnayutamesha varaha. Beautiful stuti, beautiful shloka. He says, Bhagavan is telling Prithu, no, I will not let you go. You say you don't want to ask me anything. No, I still want you to ask me something. I came all the way. I am Varadeshwara. You yourself have called me Varadeshwara. Therefore, I have to give you a boon. So therefore, there is no way. You have to ask me a boon. Then he says, if you say that I have to ask you a boon, Vidhatsva Karanayutam Yeshame Varaha. Give me 1,000,000 years. That's the only boon I want. Why do you want 1,000,000 years, He Prithu? He says, Nakamaye nata tadapyaham kvachin nayatta yushmat charanam bhuja savaha mahattamantar hridayan mukhachita. When your great bhaktas, when they start singing your glories, when they speak about your glories, then all the words that come out of them, I just want to continuously keep listening to them. And I know that 2 years are not enough. I need 1,000,000 years to constantly keep listening to the glories that your bhaktas keep talking about you. So therefore, if at all any boon you have to give, Hey Uttama Shloka, Sa Uttama Shloka Mahanmukhachuta Bhavat Padhamboja Sudha Kananilaha Smritim Punar Vishmrita Tattvavartamanam Kuyoginam no Vitaratyalam Varaihi. Prithu also it looks like is a poet, sublime poetry here. Kuyogina, who is Kuyogina? We know yogi, the opposite of a yogi is Kuyogi. Opposite of a yogi is a Kuyogi. A Kuyogi is not just a bhogi, he's a rogi as well. So therefore here a Kuyogi is one who has one disease. This rogi, what kind of a disease? Forgetfulness of Krishna. That is his disease. This is the most fatal disease, forgetfulness. Unfortunately, our mind is designed to be forgetful of Krishna. And therefore he says, Smritim Punar Vismrita Tattva Vartamanam Kuyoginam no Vitaratyalam Varaihi. He says, Bhavat Padamboja Sudakana Nilaha. He says, when your bhaktas start talking about you, your glories, when they start singing your glories, it seems the vibrations that come out of their mouths, the vibrations carry the aroma, the divine aroma of the nectarine dust of your lotus feet. That vibrations, the chants of your glories emanating from the mouths of your bhaktas carry the aroma of the nectarine dust of your lotus feet, and this aroma is more than enough, he says. And when this aroma, along with the vibrations, is received by even Kuyogis, they get instantaneously transformed, he says. Now, it's not just your lotus feet. Obviously, your lotus feet can perform magic, but it is the dust of your lotus feet can perform your magic. No. The aroma of the dust of your lotus feet is enough to perform the magic. It is the aroma of the dust of your lotus feet that can come along with the vibrations. When your bhaktas, the great Bhagavatas, talk about your glories, in those vibrations, the aroma comes along with the vibrations, and this aroma instantaneously transforms It cures the disease of forgetfulness. Then and there, with that aroma of the nectar, of the dust of your lotus feet, one begins to realize, one starts to remember the relationship between one and Bhagavan. The disease of forgetfulness is immediately cured then and there, he says. Therefore, hey, Uttama Shloka, so Uttama Shloka Mahanmukochuta, Bhavatpadamboja Sudha Kananilaha, Smritim Punar, Vishmrita Tattvavartamanam, Kuyoginam no, Vitaratyalam Varaihi. And therefore, he says, therefore, let me once again make it very clear to you. Don't think of anything else, granting me anything else. Yasha Shivam Shushrava Arya Sangame. Yasha Shivam Shushrava Arya Sangame. There is only one thing I want, continuously listening to your glories in the midst of on the Bhagavatas. Yashaha Shivam, auspicious words of your glories. Shushrava Arya Sangame. Amidst all the Bhagavatas, I want to continuously keep listening to the auspicious words which describe all your glories. Yadrichaya chopashrunoti te sakrit katam gunagyo viramed vina pashum shriryat pravavre gunasangrahechaya. Katam gunagyo viramed vina pashum. Even a pashu, the moment it starts listening to your glories, even the pashu is transformed. Now, we all know this. In Gokula, every cow exposed to Krishna's Venugana gets transformed instantaneously. Similarly, that very moment, even Naradhama, he can be a Naradhama, he can be a Dushkritanaha, he can be Mayaya Apahrata Jnanaha, he can be a Mudaha. Doesn't matter. When one gets exposed to your glories, starts to listen to them, starts to get a taste of your nectarine glories, the transformation instantaneously starts to happen. And Prithu also says, he adds, Shrihi yat pravavre gunasangrahechaya. Now I realize why Shri is always inseparable from you. She's always with you. I know why, because she also likes to keep listening to your glories. She always wants to be with you, constantly listening to you, and that is why she is ever inseparable from you. Tvan mayayadha janayisha kanditaha yadanyat ashasta ritamano budaha yatacharet balahitam pita swayam tatatvam yeharsina samihitum. He says, now I wonder why people are madly running after things, completely rejecting you. I can't understand. I cannot fathom how someone can reject you, completely ignore you, forget you, and keep running after something. Why do people do this? When you are there, why do people completely ignore you, forget you, and reject you? No intelligent person would do this. Why should people keep running after things and realizing they are actually running after misery? And therefore, I realize one thing, there is only one thing. There is no need for me to run after anything. All that I need to do is immerse myself, continuously keep immersed in relishing your glories. That itself is a purushartha for me. And therefore, let me tell you this, He Bhagavan. Yatacharet balahitam pita swayam. You are the Lokapita. And a Pita knows what is best for the child. The child need not demand anything. Even when the child demands something, the Pita will ensure that the right thing is done. Sometimes the Mata is a little lenient. Pita, he always looks at what is right for the child. Even if the child demands something, a Lokapita, I may ask you foolishly many things, but ignore all of that. As the Lokapita, you should know what is right for me. So therefore he says, Yathacharet balahitam pita swayam tathatvam evarhasina samihitum. So therefore, I leave it to you what you are going to give me. I leave it to you how you are going to take care of me. I only know one thing. I am well taken care of. I am secure. I am protected. I am blissful. There is nothing for me to ask when you are there to take care of everything that I need. Therefore, please do not once again ask me to ask another boon. Prithu thus concludes his glorious stuti. What happens next? We will relish next week. Sarvam Sri Krishna Arpanastu.